Hello, everybody. You're reading with Jimmy. This is Jimmy. We're reading Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms. It's a novel. We're on book 4. We just finished book 3. This is book 4, chapters 33 and 34. If you recall that Lieutenant Henry in the retreat is now a deserter, and he was on a train, and he's absolving himself of the war. He rationalized in the last chapter that he's kind of done with it. Chapter 33. I dropped off the train in Milan as it slowed to come into the station early in the morning before it was light. I crossed the track and came out between some buildings and down onto the street. A wine shop was open, and I went in for some coffee. It smelled of early morning, of swept dust, spoons and coffee glasses, and the wet circles left by wine glasses. The proprietor was behind the bar. 2 soldiers sat at a table. I stood at the bar and drank a glass of coffee and ate a piece of bread. The coffee was gray with milk, and I skimmed the milk scum off the top with a piece of bread. The proprietor looked at me. "You want a glass of grappa?" "No, thanks," I said. "It's on me," he said, and he poured a small glass, pushed it toward me. "What's happening at the front?" I would not know," I said. "They are drunk," he said, moving his hand toward the 2 soldiers. I could believe him. They looked drunk. "Tell me," he said, "what's happening at the front?" "I would not know about the front," I said. "I saw you come down the wall. You came off the train." "There's a big retreat." "I read the papers. What happens? Is it over?" The pronoun it. Is it over? Right? "I don't think so," I said. He filled the glass with grappa from a short bottle. "If you are in trouble," he said, I can keep you." "I am not in trouble," I said. "If you are in trouble, stay here with me." "Where does one stay?" "In the building. Many stay here. Any who are in trouble stay here." "Are many in trouble?" I asked. "Well, it depends on the trouble," he said. "You are South American?" "No." "Do you speak Spanish?" "A little." He wiped off the bar. "It is hard now to leave the country, but in no way impossible." "I have no wish to leave," I said. "You can stay here as long as you want. You will see what sort of man I am." "I have to go this morning, but I will remember the address to return." He shook his head. "You won't come back. If you talk like that, I thought you were in real trouble." "I am in no trouble," I said, "but I value the address of a friend." I put a 10 lira note on the bar to pay for the coffee. "Have a grappa with me," I said. "It is not necessary," he said. "Have one." He poured 2 glasses. "Remember," he said, "come here. Do not let other people take you in. Here you are all right." "I am sure," I said. "You are sure?" "Yes." He was serious. "Well, then let me tell you one thing. Do not go about with that coat." "Well, why?" I said. "Well, on the sleeves it shows very plainly where the stars have been cut away. The cloth is a different color." I didn't say anything. Duh. How about it? Huh? What are the odds that to meet the guy who knows the situation? What are the odds? What, right? What are the odds? What? Okay. What are the odds? So Lieutenant Henry, obviously, remember when he tore his stars off, right? It's a different color. "If you have no papers, I can give you papers." "What papers?" I said. "Leave papers," he said. "I have no need for papers. I have papers." "All right," he said. "But if you need papers, I can get you what you wish." It's kind of like a cat and mouse game, you see? "How much are such papers?" I asked. "Well, it depends on what they are. The price is reasonable." I don't need any now, I said. He shrugged his shoulders. I'm all right, I said. When I went out, he said, don't forget that I am your friend. No, I said. I will see you again, he said. Good, I said. Outside, I kept away from the station where there were military police, and I picked up a cab at the edge of the little park. I gave the driver the address of the hospital, and at the hospital, I went to the porter's lodge. His wife embraced me. He shook my hand. You're back. You are safe. Yes, I said. Have you had breakfast? Yes, I said. How are you, Tenente? How are you? The wife asked. Fine. Won't you have breakfast with us? No, thank you. Tell Miss Barkley here at the hospital now. Is Miss Barkley here at the hospital? Miss Barkley? Well, the English lady nurse. His girl, the wife said. She patted my arm and smiled. No, the porter said. She is away. My heart went down. Are you sure? I mean, the tall, blonde English young lady. I am sure. She went to Stresa. So now we hear another component, right? Another adventure. She's gone. When did she go? She went 2 days ago with the other English lady. You know who that is, ladies and gentlemen, right? Ferguson. Good, I said. I wish you to do something for me. Do not tell anyone that you have seen me. It's very important, I said. I won't tell anyone, the porter said. I gave him a 10-lira note. He pushed it away. I promise you I will tell no one, he said, and I don't want any money. What can we do for you, Signor Tenente, his wife asked. Only that, I said. We are dumb, the porter said. You will let me know anything I can do? Yes, I said. Goodbye. I will see you again. They stood in the door looking after me. I got into a cab and gave the driver the address of Simmons, one of the men I knew who was studying singing. Remember Ralph Simmons? Enrico del Cordo? I forgot his alias he was singing as. Simmons! Do you remember things about Simmons? I hope so. Simmons lived a long way out in the town towards the Porta Magneta. He was still in bed and sleepy when I went to see him. You get up awfully early, Henry, he said. I came in on the early train, I said. What's all this retreat? Were you at the front? Will you have a cigarette? They're in the box on the table. It was a big room with a bed beside the wall, a piano over to the far side, and a dresser on the table. I sat on the chair by the bed. Simmons sat propped up by the pillows and smoked. I'm in a jam, Sim, I said. So am I, he said. I'm always in a jam. Won't you smoke? No, I said. What's the procedure in going to Switzerland, I asked. For you? The Italians wouldn't let you out of the country. Yes, I know that. But the Swiss, what will they do? They will intern you. Well, I know, but what's the mechanics of it? Nothing. It's very simple. You go anywhere. I think you just have to report or something. Why? Are you fleeing the police? Nothing definite yet, I said. Don't tell me if you don't want, but it would be interesting to hear. Nothing ever happens here. I was a great flop at the Piacenza. I'm awfully sorry, I said. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I went very badly. I sung well, too. I'm going to try it again at the Lyrical here. I'd like to be there, I said. You're awfully polite. You aren't in a bad mess, are you? He asked. I don't know, I said. Well, don't tell me if you don't want. How do you happen to be away from the bloody front? I think I'm through with it, I said. Good boy, he said. I always knew you had sense. Can I help you in any way? You're awfully busy, I said. Not a bit, my dear Henry, not a bit. I'd be happy to do anything. You're about my size, I said. Would you go out and buy me an outfit of civilian clothes? I've clothes, but they're all in Rome, I said. You did live there, didn't you? That's a filthy place, he said. How did you ever live there? Well, I wanted to be an architect, I said. That's no place for that. Don't buy clothes. Heck, I'll give you all the clothes you want. I'll fit you out so that you'll be a great success. Go into that dressing room. There's a closet. Take anything you want. My dear fellow, you don't want to buy clothes. I'd rather buy them, Sim, I said. My dear fellow, it's easier for me to let you have them than to go out and buy them. Do you have a passport? You wouldn't get far without a passport. I've still got my passport, yes. Well, then get dressed, my dear fellow, and off to the old Helvetica. Helvetia. It's not that simple, I said. I have to go up to Stressa first. Ideal, my dear fellow. You just row a boat across. If I wasn't trying to sing, I'd go with you. Maybe I'll go yet. You could take up yodeling, I said. My dear fellow, I'll take up yodeling yet. I can really sing, though. That's the strange part. I'll bet you can sing, I said. He lay back in bed smoking a cigarette. Don't bet too much, but I can sing, though. It's damn funny, but I can. I like to sing. Listen. And he roared into Africana, his neck swelling and the veins standing out. I can sing, he said, whether they like it or not. I looked out the window. I'll go down and let my cab go. Come back, my dear fellow, and we'll have breakfast. He stepped out of bed, stood straight, took a deep breath, and commenced doing bending exercises. I went downstairs and paid off the cab. Got it? From a previous chapter, I want to read this to you. One of the singers was named Ralph Simmons, and he was singing under the name Enrico del Credo. I thought it was that. I never knew how well he could sing, but he was always on the point of something very big happening. He was fat and looked shop-worn around the nose and mouth as though he had hay fever. He was fat. Ladies and gentlemen, you just found out what Lieutenant Henry looks like. If he's going to fit into his clothes and Sim's clothes, right? Simmons's clothes, and Simmons is fat, logic, therefore, ergo, Lieutenant Henry is fat. Keep that in mind. Don't forget what he said also in the last chapter. He lives to eat, right? Chapter 34. In civilian clothes, I felt like a masquerader. I had been in uniform a long time, and I missed the feeling of being held by your clothes. The trousers felt very floppy. I had bought a ticket at Milan for Stresa. I had also bought a new hat. I could not wear Sims's hat, but his clothes were fine. His clothes were fine. They smelled of tobacco, and as I sat in the compartment and looked out the window, the new hat felt very new and the clothes very old. I myself felt as sad as the wet Lombard country that was outside through the window. There were some aviators in the compartment who didn't think much of me. They avoided looking at me and were very scornful of a civilian my age. I didn't feel insulted. In the old days, I would have insulted them and picked a fight. Aha! In the old days. And why are these the new days? And why doesn't he pick a fight? Because he's on the run. They got off at the Galatriat, and I was glad to be alone. I had the paper, but I didn't read it because I didn't want to read about the war. I was going to forget the war. I had made a separate peace. I felt damn lonely and was glad when the train got to Stresa. At the station, I had expected to see the porters from the hotels, but there was no one. The season had been over for a long time, and no one met the train. I got down from the train with my bag, and it was Sim's bag, and very light to carry, being empty except for 2 shirts, and stood under the roof of the station in the rain, ladies and gentlemen, in the rain, while the train went on. I found a man in the station, and I asked him if he knew what hotels were open. The Grand Hotel and the Isle Mormet was open, and several small hotels that stayed open all year. I started in the rain for the Isle Bormé, carrying my bag. I saw a carriage coming down the street, and I signaled to the driver. It was better to arrive at a carriage. We drove up the carriage entrance of the big hotel, and the concierge came out with an umbrella and was very polite. I took a good room. It was very big and light and looked out onto the lake. The clouds were down over the lake, but it would be beautiful with the sunlight. I was expecting my wife, I said. There was a big double bed, a letto matrimonial with a satin coverlet. The hotel was very luxurious. I went down the long halls, down the white stairs, through the rooms to the bar, and I knew the barman, and sat at the high stool and ate salted almonds and potato chips. The martini felt cool and clean. I knew the barman, he says. He's telling us. I knew the barman. How did he know the barman? Aren't you curious? He knows a lot of people. He knows the geography. This guy gets around. I knew the barman. What are you doing here in Bouget? The barman asked after he mixed a second martini. Here he goes again. I'm on leave, convalescing leave. There's no one here. I don't know why they keep the hotel open, he said. Have you been fishing? I asked. I caught some beautiful pieces, he said. Trolling this time of year, you catch some beautiful pieces. Did you ever get the tobacco I sent? Yeah, yes. Didn't you get my card? I laughed. I had not been able to get the tobacco. It was the American pipe tobacco that he wanted, but my relatives had stopped sending it, or it was being held up. And anyway, it never came. I'll get some somewhere, I said. Tell me, have you seen 2 English girls in town? They came here a day before yesterday. Oh, they're not in the hotel. They're not at the hotel. They're nurses. I've seen 2. Well, wait a minute. I will find out where they are. One of them is my wife, I said. I've come here to meet her. The other is my wife, he said. No, I'm not joking. Oh, pardon my stupid joke, he said. I didn't understand. He went away and was gone a bit for a little while. I ate olives, salted almonds, potato chips, and I looked at myself in civilian clothes in the mirror behind the bar. The bartender came back. They're at a little hotel near the station, he said. How about some sandwiches? I'll ring for some, he said. You understand there's nothing here now that there are no people. Isn't there really anyone at all? Well, there's a few people, he said. The sandwiches came. I ate 3 and drank a couple of more martinis. So that's 4 martinis. Did you ever drink a martini, ladies and gentlemen? It's a powerful, good-tasting drink, but Jimmy can only handle a sip. I'm just telling you. I used to work with a guy that had lunch. He'd go downstairs for lunch from the building I was in, and he had 3 martinis, and that was it for the afternoon for him. Good old Augie. I had never tasted anything so cool and clean. They made me feel civilized. I had had too much red wine, bread, cheese, bad coffee, and grappa. I sat on the high stool before the pleasant mahogany, the brass, and the mirrors, and didn't think at all. The barman asked me some question. Don't talk about the war, I said. The war was a long way away. Maybe there wasn't any war. There was no war here. And then I realized it was over for me. But I didn't have the feeling that it was really over. I had the feeling of a boy who thinks of what is happening at a certain hour at the schoolhouse from which he has just played truant. See? Do you understand this? Do you understand this feeling? Cheating, right? Catherine and Helen Ferguson were at supper when I came to their hotel, and standing in the hallway, I saw them at the table. Catherine's face was away from me, and I saw the line of her hair and her cheek and her lovely neck and shoulders. Ferguson was talking. She stopped when I came in. My God, she said. Hello, I said. Why, it's you, Catherine said. Her face lit up. She looked too happy to believe it. I kissed her. Catherine blushed, and I sat down at the table. You're a fine mess, Ferguson said. What are you doing here? Have you eaten? No, he says. Did he eat? I just look up here. He ate 3 sandwiches, a couple of martinis. The girl who was serving the meal came in and I told her to bring a plate for me. Sir, don't forget he lives to eat. Catherine looked at me all the time, her eyes happy. What are you doing in Mufiti? Ferguson asked. Ordinary clothes. Mufiti. I'm in the cabinet, he said. You're in some mess, she said. Cheer up, Fergie. Cheer up just a little, I said. I'm not cheered by seeing you, she said. I know the mess you've gotten this girl into. You're no cheerful sight to me. Catherine smiled at me and touched me with her foot under the table. No one got me in a mess, Fergie. I get into my own messes. I can't stand him, Ferguson said. He's done nothing but ruin you with his sneaking Italian tricks. Americans are worse than Italians. The Scotch are such moral people, Catherine said. I don't mean that. I mean his Italian sneakiness. Am I sneaky, Fergie? You are. You're worse than sneaky. You're like a snake. Remember the snake of reason that Rinaldi was talking about? You are like a snake. A snake with an Italian uniform with a cape around your neck. I haven't got an Italian uniform now, I said. That's just another example of your sneakiness. You had a love affair all summer. You got this girl with child, and I suppose you're going to sneak off. I smiled at Catherine, and she smiled at me. Ferguson's reaction. I want you to watch her reactions. We'll both sneak off, she said. You're two of the same thing, Ferguson said. I'm ashamed of you, Catherine Barkley. You have no shame and no honor, and you're sneaky as he is. Don't, Fergie, Catherine said and patted her hand. Don't denounce me. You know we like each other. Take your hand away, Ferguson said. Her face was red. If you had any shame, it would be different. But you're God knows how many months gone with child, and you think it's a joke. And you're all smiles because your seducers come back. You have no shame and no feelings. And she began to cry. Catherine went over and put her arm around her. As she stood comforting Ferguson, I could see no change in her figure. I don't care, Ferguson sobbed. I think it's dreadful. There, Fergie, Catherine comforted her. I'll be ashamed. Don't cry, Fergie. Don't cry, old Fergie. I'm not crying, she sobbed. I'm not crying. Except the awful thing you've gotten into. She looked at me. I hate you, she said. She can't make me not hate you, you sturdy, sneaking American Italian. Her eyes and nose were red with crying. Catherine smiled at me. Don't smile at him with your arm around me. You're unreasonable, Fergie. I know it, Ferguson sobbed. You mustn't mind me, either of you. I'm so upset. I'm not unreasonable, I know it. I want you both to be happy. We are happy, Catherine said. You're sweet, Fergie. Ferguson cried again. I don't want you happy the way you are. Why don't you get married? You haven't got another wife, have you? No, I said. Catherine laughed. It's nothing to laugh about, Ferguson. Plenty of them have other wives. We'll be married, Fergie, Catherine said, if it will please you. Not to please me, she said. You should want to be married. Well, we've been very busy, she said. Yeah, I know. Busy making babies. And I thought she was going to cry again, but she went into bitterness instead. I suppose you'll go off with him now tonight. Yes, Catherine said, if he wants me. Well, what about me? Are you afraid to stay here alone, she asked. Yes, I am, Ferguson said. Well, then I'll stay with you. No, go with him. Go with him right away. I'm sick of seeing both of you. We better finish dinner. No, go right away. Fergie, be reasonable. I say get out right away. Go away, both of you. Well, let's go then, I said. I was sick of Fergie. You do want to go. You see, you want to leave me even to eat dinner alone. I always wanted to go to the Italian lakes, and this is how it is. She sobbed and then looked at Catherine and choked. We'll stay till after dinner, Catherine said, and I will not leave you alone if you want me to stay. I won't leave you alone, Fergie. No, I want you to go. I want you to go. She wiped her eyes. I'm not unreasonable. Please don't mind me. The girl who served the meal had been upset by all the crying, and now she brought in the next course. She seemed relieved that things were better. That night at the hotel, in our room with the long empty hall outside and our shoes outside the door, a thick carpet on the floor of the room, outside the windows the rain was falling, and in the room light and pleasant. Stream of consciousness, ladies and gentlemen, stream of consciousness. And then the light out and it exciting with smooth sheets and the bed comfortable, feeling that we had come home, feeling no longer alone, waking in the night to find the other one there and not gone away. All other things were unreal. We slept, and when we were tired, we slept when we were tired, and if we woke, the other one woke too, so one was not alone. Often a man wishes to be alone, and a girl wishes to be alone too, and if they love each other, they are jealous of that in each other. But I can truly say we never felt that. We could feel alone when we were together, alone against the others. It has only happened to me like that once. I've been alone while I was with many girls, and that is the way you can be most lonely. That's important. We're talking about loneliness, right? But we were never lonely, and we were never afraid when we were together. I know that the night is not the same as the day, that all things are different, and that the things of the night cannot be explained in the day, because they do not then exist. And that the night can be a dreadful time for lonely people once their loneliness has started. This stream of consciousness, ladies and gentlemen, is very important, and you should study it carefully. But with Catherine, there was almost no difference in the night except that it was an even better time. If people bring so much courage to this world, the world has to kill them to break them. So, of course, it kills them. What the hell does that mean? If people bring so much courage to this world, the world has to kill them to break them, so of course it kills them. The world? The world breaks everyone, and afterward many are strong at the broken places. Right? You've heard that saying, if it don't kill you, it makes you stronger. But those that will not break, it kills. It kills the very good and the very gentle and the very brave impartially. What the heck is it? These pronouns mean something. They've meant something throughout the novel, and they should be really bothering you now. What the heck is this guy talking about, right? If you are none of these, you can be sure it will kill you too. But there will be no special hurry. I'm tempted to read this again, and I'm going to do it real fast. If people bring so much courage to this world, the world has to kill them to break them. So, of course, the world kills them. The world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places. But those that will not break, the world kills. The world kills the very good, the very gentle, and the very brave impartially. And if you are none of these, you can be sure that the world will kill you too, but there will be no special hurry. Does the world kill? Does the world kill? What's he talking about? The world, the events of the world, life, reality? Does reality kill you? What is reality? I should have wrote that down. What's he talking about here? Right? What's he talking about? What's he talking about? What is he talking about? Reality? What is reality? I remember waking in the morning, Catherine was asleep, and the sunlight was coming in through the window. The rain had stopped. Rain stopped. And I stepped out of bed and across the floor to the window, and down below were the gardens, bare now, but beautifully regular with gravel paths, the trees, the stone wall by the lake. A little different than what he's used to in the war, right, with the mud. And the lake and the sunlight was the mountain and the mountains beyond. I stood at the window looking out, and when I turned away, I saw Catherine was awake and watching me. "How are you, darling?" she said. "Isn't it a lovely day?" "How do you feel?" I asked. "I feel very well. We had a lovely night." "Do you want breakfast?" I asked. She wanted breakfast, and so did I. And we had it in bed, the November sunlight coming in the window and the breakfast tray across my lap. "Don't you want a paper?" she asked. "You always wanted the paper in the hospital." "No," I said, I don't want the paper now." "Was it so bad that you don't even want to read about it?" In this case, we know the pronoun is the war. "I don't want to read about it," I said. "I wish I had been with you so I could know about it too." "I'll tell you about it if I ever get it straight in my head." "But won't they arrest you?" she asked, "if they catch you out of uniform?" "Well, they'll probably shoot me," I said. "Then we will not stay here. We'll have to get out of the country." I thought of something like that. "We'll get out. Darling, you shouldn't take silly chances. Tell me, how did you come from Mestre to Milan?" "I came on the train. I was in uniform then." "Weren't you in danger then?" "Well, not much," I said. "I had an old order of movement. I fixed the dates on it in Mestre. Okay. I had an old order of movement. He had papers, and he fixed the dates. He cheated, right?" "Darling, you're liable to be arrested here at any time, and I won't have it. It's silly to do something like that. Where would we be if they took you off?" "Let's not think about it. I'm trying not to think about it." "What would you do if they came to arrest you?" she asked. "I'd shoot them," I said. "You see how silly you are," she said. "I won't let you go out of the hotel until we leave." "Where are we going to go?" I asked. "Please don't be that way, darling. We'll go wherever you say, but please find some place to go right away." "Switzerland is down the lake," I said. "We can go there." "That would be lovely," she said. It was clouding over outside, and the lake was darkening. "I wish we did not always have to live like criminals," I said. "Darling, don't be that way. You haven't lived like a criminal very long, and we never live like criminals. We're going to have a fine time." "I feel like a criminal. I've deserted the army." "I feel like a criminal. I deserted the army." What is the difference between feeling and being? You remember me talking about that in other stories? Feeling versus being, right? Seeming versus, right, being. I feel like a criminal. I've deserted the army. Is he a criminal, or does he just feel like a criminal? Does he seem to be a criminal? "Darling, please be sensible," she says. "It's not deserting from the army. It's only the Italian army." "Is it? Is it all?" What are we doing here, ladies and gentlemen? Huh? Ration. What are we doing here? Give me keys right here. Rationalization. Right? Isn't that what we're doing? I laughed. "You're a fine girl. Let's get back into bed. I feel fine in bed," I said. A little while later, Catherine said, "What do you think happened between this quotation mark and this a little while later?" Here he goes again. Catherine said, "You don't feel like a criminal, do you?" "No," I said, "not when I'm with you." "You're such a silly boy," she said, "but I'll look after you. Isn't it splendid, darling, that I don't have any morning sickness?" "It's grand," he said. "You don't appreciate what a fine wife you have. But I don't care. I'll get you someplace where they can't arrest you, and then we'll have a lovely time." "Let's go there right away," I said. "We will, darling. I'll go any place, any time you wish." "Well, let's not think about anything," he said. "All right," she said. What do you think? What do you think? So they meet up, they make love, a lot of love, right? And he knows he's a criminal. They got to get away someplace, or he's going to be arrested and shot. He's a deserter. Deserter. It's only the Italian army. It doesn't matter. It's the army, right? He was in the army. He made a commitment. He made a commitment. Obligation. 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 And what about Ferguson's reactions? What do you think? She really doesn't like Lieutenant Henry. And you know what? I'm starting not to like the guy either. What about you? What about you? You've been reading with Jimmy. This is Jimmy. Thanks for visiting. Learn more by watching the next chapter of A Farewell to Arms. You can email me, Jimmy@readingwithjimmy.com, Jimmy@readingwithjimmy.com. This is book 4, right? Chapters 33 and 34. I want to thank you for your time and attention, and I hope you're enjoying it. Book 4. One more book after book 4, but we got several chapters to go yet. Enjoy the day.